Welcome to Spurs Ration TV. Right, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all you guys around the world. We've got an international round of guests here, right? We've got Jordan from Jamaica, Prithvi from India, and of course Keshaf and we are from Malaysia. And let me bring on one more guest, right? And Mani's from India too, right? All right, big up guys. How y'all doing? All doing well, guys?
All good.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Looking
All
for
good.
good. All
Saturday.
good. Good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
We're all
Just
good, we're all
I
good.
was
But
playing.
before that,
I'm on my mobile because it's heating up a little bit. I mean, just loading rather. So once I get onto the PC, I'll probably just hop on from there. But thanks for sending me the link, Eugene.
all right, I'll catch up. Once you are all set, right? Then I'll re-bring you back in again. But before that, let me just give a shout out to guys in the chat. Chun Yao, big up to Chun Yao, right? Big up Swifty. Swifty's in the chats too, right? Right. I have a better head than Stell now. Yeah, I have a better head than Stell now. Yeah, I'm tired of showing my bald head most of the time whenever I bend over like this. Right. But guys, uh, today it's going to be the preview show for a while, then a review show for a while. But I'll get to the Liverpool side first, right? Because Jordan might have to leave quite soon, right? Uh, First of all, I'll go
Yes,
through the
yes, because
preview
I have
with
a prediction.
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan and Keshaf, right? Uh, Keshaf is a West Ham fan. Jordan's a Liverpool fan, right? The game turned out 3-1 in the end. Uh, I'll go to Keshaf first. Keshaf, your thoughts on that West Ham Liverpool game?
Um, yeah, I thought it was actually a very good game. Actually, before coming into this game, I thought, we just faced City, we lost 3-1, but you know, what I'm very actually pleased with is that even though I'm coming to the City game first, but I thought even though City, of course, with their clinical chances they score and they always create the right opportunities, I thought we actually caused Man City a lot of problems. I know a lot of fans will say, it's 3-1 we lost, but don't get me wrong, this is not going. This type of games won't define our season. But I like the fact that we are competing with teams which we've not done for quite a long time. Yeah, even I know we lost, but still. And this game, I thought, Liverpool, when they faced Wolves, I think last week, or sorry, the following week, they struggled. And I saw that as like a weakness from them. And especially in the first half when they faced Wolves, Wolves were causing them all sorts of problems on the left side with Neto, and you got Cunha also, both very good players. So there were weaknesses which I thought, in our team, which we can cause Liverpool problems, especially with the set pieces with James Ward-Prowse. You got Alvarez in there. We've got Bowen who can cut in very direct, and also we've got Antonio who can cause havoc. So I thought, what, we can give Liverpool a chance. But then, always the thing about this type of games is that it always comes down to your chances and how you take them. And again, these past two games have shown that we are just not there yet. We can't seem to create the chances well enough. Um, I thought we dominated 15 minutes. I thought we caused Liverpool a lot of problems in terms of getting the headers right, getting into the box, especially when um, at the left side when Pakata and Emerson, the relationship between them has been very good. And I thought we made them a bit we they struggled a lot in terms of trying to pass the ball well, trying to make the true in passes and all that. And then after that, I saw that okay, we're not taking opportunities. We had two chances in the first 15 minutes. One which was Antonio could have scored from the header, and the other one was I forgot the other one. I think it was I might have forgotten, but they were chances. I forgot that one. But then after that, of course, Liverpool they had to find a way to dominate, which they did. I mean, West Ham. Let's be honest, West Ham don't dominate games with this type of sides. We like to sit back. We like to soak up pressure. We like to hit on the counter attack. That is how we play, and that's actually technically how Moyes plays mostly all the time. So I wasn't really fussed about that. I thought we if we get the first goal, I know we can do well in terms defensively with the five at the back. We can push Alvarez as centre back. But then, of course, they scored from a penalty. I think Agod, to be honest, has been quite poor with especially the first mistake he made with Salah. as a clear penalty. A good goal from Salah, by the way. And I thought from then Liverpool dominated. And then after that, we just seemed to get a hold on Liverpool. And second half, before the second half, 41st minute, uh, Kufa put the cross in for Bowen to get the header, which I thought was brilliant. I think brilliant cross from Kufa. Then I thought, okay, we have a brilliant chance to come back into the game. Then I thought Kim Moyes to give a good team talk, sit back, soak up, get tight defensively. But then I didn't see anything in the second half. It was a complete everything gone out the window. It was like that. I thought we actually go out for it actually, because actually if you I don't know whether you watched the City game. It was similar to the City game, where City had most of the ball in the second half. We couldn't penetrate, and if you realize both of the games, both Man City and Liverpool had complete control of the ball. We didn't even like push on to even have the intention or determination to get the ball, which I didn't like. So these are the things I thought we need to improve on. But overall, I'm not really fast. I'm very happy with how we played, especially in the first 50 minutes. I can take a lot positive from. But other than that, these are not the sort of teams that's gonna define a season. The teams that are gonna define a season are the likes of Newcastle, Aston Villa, all these sides which I think that will define our season. But uh, we have got. Let me tell you this: we have got a very good team. This is actually the type of team that Moyes has built in terms of his image, like how we did at Everton, for example. And when you think about it, when he had his side at Everton, he had like Lukaku and Aaron Lennon and all these type of players, which really made Everton a top side. So this is similar to what we've done, but you get of course, losing Declan Rice has not had the best impact in terms of midfield, but the way we brought the midfielders in, like Alvarez and Ward-Prowse, has really helped. It's actually really helped us, which I thought was very smart, especially Ward-Prowse coming in, especially for free kicks. He's a set piece specialist, and then you got Alvarez, who a very good defensive midfielder from Ajax. So we've actually done our business actually quite pleasing. Actually, I'm saying. And we've also got kudos also from Ajax, which I think is a brilliant signing. Of course, you need time to adjust. And also Mavropanos from Stuttgart, which I think is a defensive addition which you need. But if you look at this side, and I think the thing I don't like about Moyes is that he doesn't go out for games. But actually, this season, I'm actually being quite impressed that West Ham couldn't even beat Brighton last season, couldn't even beat um, all the difficult sides we had, like Newcastle or whatever. But this season, what has impressed me was that the start of the season we had actually quite a lot of tough games. We got Man City, Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea, and I forgot the other team. Um, yeah, and Luton also. Luton is not an easy game because the first game at home. So overall, seventh in the table. I don't know how many points we got. I have to go back on the points, but we are sitting comfortably. We are sitting very comfortably. We've got Sheffield United this week, which I think they got thumped 8-0 by Newcastle. So I expect us to win. There's no excuses here. We have to win the game to continue this. Then we got Aston Villa, Newcastle, But I'm very happy. I'm very pleased. Of course, Declan wanted to leave, and we can't control what's going to happen. When of course Declan want to move on and all that. But you know what? This shows that West Ham are changing in terms of mentality, but not just that. We are changing in the way we approach transfers because actually before we West Ham are very comes West Ham when it comes to transfer very scattergun. We only will go for last minute deals. We won't be very efficient. Okay, this is the player we want. We go all out for him. But since we brought in Tim Steiner, who's actually a very good technical director from Bayer Leverkusen, he's actually really like helped the way we've deal the transfers, convince players to come. So all these things actually matter when it comes to a football club, not just the style of play, but also the image of the club, because that is what's going to attract the players. So we are trying to slowly build on to that. But overall, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I didn't expect us to be Brighton, so I am pleased actually. But this needs to continue. That's why when I saw the Liverpool 3-1, I watched it. I said, "It's not going to define our season." I know it's bitterly disappointing with the way we play in the second half, but overall, I think Liverpool were actually the favourites in this game. Of course, we were given them a tough game, but still didn't come to really push them on in the second half, which we didn't do. But well, it is what it is.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But
Yeah.
Kumar 21
Sorry.
says,
Let me just cut right in, Keshav, and say this. Obviously, you were just speaking about Declan Rice and how he wanted to leave, but
Mm,
I do concur with what you're saying that the business that you did, obviously, with the money that you got,
mm,
105 million quid is certainly not small potatoes, and you've bought perfectly. And it was ironic because at that stage, a lot of people were criticizing the Hammers for not really doing very much in the transfer market, but then I guess you just never know what you can do until you get a sudden influx of cash. And several of those players that you got, Ward Prowse, Kudos, and others, they'd really improve our team. And especially when I think of how we splashed out 65 million quid for a certain guy who, you know, hasn't really lived up to his potential, for want of nicer words. I'm jealous of you lot right now, I have to say.
okay. Mani as an Arsenal fan is jealous of Kesha of a West Ham fan, right? But Kumar's 21 says that West Ham is looking for top six, and of course Bowen is an asset, right? So at the moment now, hard to say when the transfer window opens whether there'll be any movement for them or not. Okay, Jordan, your thoughts on the Liverpool West Ham game?
Hey, yes, I'm happy for the boys and them proves they look very versatile this season. And we beat West Ham. I don't know what's going on with my club Liverpool this season because we're winning 3-1 in every single game.
mm,
We won
Yeah.
3-1 in the Premier League. We won 3-1 in the Europa League. We won 3-1 yesterday. Something's going
mm,
on with us. Don't know what,
Okay.
but something's going on.
At least you're winning, right? 3-1. Right? That's the part, right? And
So yeah,
the thing is that
I'm happy for the win. I'm happy for the win, yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't complain about when you're winning 3-1 in every game. But okay, straight into it, right? I'll just go through to because this is more or less considered the big game of the weekend at the moment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We'll go to Spurs Liverpool game since
mm,
Jordan is here before Jordan leaves, right? The Spurs Liverpool game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go first, then I'll get to Prithvi, then I'll go to Jordan, then after that I'll come to Mani and Keshav. It's a very simple thing, right? Me being a Spurs fan at the moment, right? I keep telling a lot of, I keep saying
mm,
on the shows, right? Ange has given us hope, right? But I've not put any expectations on our players or our performance at the moment. But somehow or another, we've been unbeaten, right? At the moment, we've got out of 6 games, I think we've 4 wins and 2 draws, right? I'm very happy with it. But coming to this Saturday game, I've got this funny fear in me that we are going to lose to Liverpool because number one, Liverpool has always been right our hoodoo team somehow or another, right? No matter how we look like we're going to win or we're going to beat them, somehow or another we'll always concede that last minute
mm,
goal by Firmino or somebody who will come up and just smack us in that last minute of time. But somehow or another, that slight fear there is also a bit quelled at the moment because if we do come out and the performance that we do are capable of doing, then maybe we'll give Liverpool a good run for their money, right? But at the moment now, my fear is that I always see this coming. Liverpool, no matter how they start slow, they concede a goal,
mm,
right? But their firepower is strong enough, right? And then when they bring on players like Nunes and all that in the last
mm.
20 minutes, right? That's when they go to a different gear, and then when they score 2 goals out of nothing. That's my fear
Yeah.
for Spurs at the moment. Because Spurs, right? We're young. Our defense at the moment haven't been really tested, even though we have conceded 2 goals at Brentford. Where else did we concede 2 goals? 2 goals at Brentford, two
Arsenal.
goals at Arsenal, right? And that's
Arsenal.
how things are. So
Arsenal.
we still look a bit iffy at the back. That's where my fear comes in when your guys have your fight when the Liverpool firepower comes in, right? So, Prithvi, this Saturday game, what are your thoughts and your feelings at the moment?
Uh, I mean, I have similar thoughts about the Liverpool game just as you. Uh, First of all, you know it's a bad game when Sonny manages to miss three, sitters in the same match. and it's always happened in a Liverpool game, that sort of thing, you know. Kane missing a sitter, Son missing a sitter. These are things that you know would obviously put down most of our the expectation that we would have probably had after the good run of form that we've had so far. I think this would be a downer of sorts. But then again, like you know, to keep the optimism up and you know to expect what we should be expecting. I personally think it's going to be something similar to the Arsenal game that we played. We might end up conceding, but I think it's going to be a draw the same way it was with Arsenal.
Oh, 2-2. Okay. All right. And Jordan, since you're away this time, right? Coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, are you confident that Liverpool can do one again?
Um, yes. For me, well, yeah. Looking at our three new signings, I'm going to take Alexis out of it because he has experience. But looking at our three signings, Dom, Endo, and Ryan, Dom, he had a screamer, he do a screamer yesterday. So if he can get the ball, he's going to do it same thing. Endo did a fantastic yesterday, and Ryan, fantastic player. But we're gonna win tomorrow. We're gonna win Saturday.
Yeah, okay.
I'm
What's the
not sure
scoreline then?
confident about Salah at this moment.
Okay. But what's the
I'm
scoreline that
going
you're
for
going to predict?
3-1. God, this could be just
Another 3-1.
unbelievable. 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 Liverpool. God, this could be just unbelievable, man.
All right. Okay. Okay. Then I'll come
It
to
could be
Mani now.
just too good.
Mani is a neutral fan, right? What do you see in this game?
Arsenal fan, but look, I'm a little bit worried about what's going to happen when we face Liverpool because, um, dare I say it, they're starting to, re-emerge
No,
again, and
they're not winning. They're not winning at Anfield. So they're not winning at Anfield.
will you listen, brother?
Continue.
Please let me finish. Let me finish. I'm always a very respectful fan, and you need to
That
let me
difference.
finish before you pass judgment on me. Okay, that's what I said. I am worried about Liverpool, and we haven't even played them yet, and obviously, given how we stuttered against Brentford, and also started well against your lot, Eugene, but ended up completely running out of steam near the end. That is a big cause for concern. Now, I remember telling you, and we did the North London preview, and you also came on for a post game chat with me, and you were talking about how when Madison and Son went off, you were actually, completely. You were quite scared out of your trousers, as you would say. But eventually you ended up holding on. And I would definitely say that given how we faded away and didn't really offer very much in the second half, I mean, of course, near the end, we threw the kitchen sink at you in the hope that we would have another um, Arteta time miracle, but it didn't materialize. And that's a lesson to us. We've got to make sure that we are on top of our game for almost the entirety if we want to truly merit the win. And that Manchester United win was just another, false dawn, fool's gold, or whatever, what have you. So with regard to this particular game, I'm going to predict a rather close Liverpool win because here's the ironic thing, and I want to actually get Jordan's views on this. Ever since TAA has been, taken out of the lineup due to injury, Joe Gomez has, of course, come back in. I always, believe that Gomez is a much better right back than he is a central defender. And of course, I do remember when you lot came to the Emirates and TAA was, out of sorts in the first half. Klopp was smart enough to take him off and bring Gomez on. And Gomez had an excellent game where he kept Gabriel Martinelli quiet. And now, of course, that Gomez has come back in, there's a part of me that thinks that he's lent that great deal of solidity to the defense. Of course, in terms of Virgil van Dijk starting to, I mean, there's still questions about his form, but he still remains an important player for Liverpool. But the defense looks a little bit more calmer, a little bit calmer, I would say. and the midfield is starting to cook again. The front line, you can't look beyond that. So to me, again, it's going to be another midfield battle because again, I see Klopp's 4-3-3 up against Ange's 4-2-3-1. But where our 4-3-3 failed, your 4-3-3 could end up being quite successful in many ways. So I'm actually going to go for a Liverpool win, but it could very well be tight. I'd say 2-1. And I will. Sorry about that calling bell, but I will get to that. But um, would you share my view that TAA would have to, struggle to get back into the team right now, or do you still think that he just walked back in?
His name, his name is his name is his name is TAA, not T. Trent Alexander Arnold. Mm, yeah. I know he's young. Some people always bias him, such as Liverpool fans. I don't know. I always tell him he's young. He's just learning. He just became more vice captain. He's now gone back to his 2019-20 season when we won the league. Trent is a player that love to mistake. I know what happened. He was looking at Virgil. Yeah, you guys escaped from a defeat last season. Escape because we let the guy score early. If we my centre back, right back, yes, he's good. But no, yesterday with Jones. You Jones was Bajectic at right back in the Europa League. We with Jones in the Carabao Cup at right back. So we could be cooking this season. Or we start already. So yeah.
Mhm. Fair, fair. Right. And Jordan, do you have to leave now, or you still got a few more minutes? Yeah, Jordan, can you hear me? But never mind. All right. Keshav, the Spurs Liverpool game. I mean, I'm sure you have some interest in it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure you have some interest in it, right? So, what are your thoughts on this game?
It's going to be interesting because, like I said, because my brother's a Liverpool fan. I think, to be honest, I'm very shocked to how Liverpool are playing. Because not to say I didn't expect it. I mean, they have very good players and they are brilliant side. And I think right now they're gaining a lot of like confidence, momentum. Especially they've got some informed players like Sabozalai, Diaz, for example, Nunes especially. Nunes is really starting to show a lot of confidence now in front of goal. Because actually last season he was unsure because he just signed for Liverpool and he wasn't in the best shape of goal scoring. But I think this season you see him taking the risk, you see him taking the chances. So it's great to see that. Other than that, I think Liverpool, I don't want to say yet, but I think Liverpool are starting to show a bit more uh, confidence in the way they play. They look more self-assured. They look more like they were in a few seasons ago, where you couldn't stop them.
That's
Competing with Man City. So I think this time around, you're I think Liverpool going to face a very interesting Spurs fight because, to be honest, when Ange got appointed, he's actually I'm going to actually say it's quite shocking to say, but I'm very impressed with Spurs. I am coming from a West Ham fan. I am very impressed with Spurs. I think what they've done is, to be honest, has actually shocked me in a way because last season you came to like Antonio Conte. I remember the time where he was with his press conference and he told a lot of truths about maybe behind the scenes about Spurs and the culture and all that. But when it comes to this season, I have to say that the players in that side have really actually got a chemistry. Like Udogi, for example, Papisa. I think is it Papisa? Yeah, Papisa. And then you got Kulizeski and what's his name? Who you're playing at right back again? I forgot.
Poro,
Udoji.
Pedro Poro.
Poro, right?
Petro
Poro,
Porro, yes.
yeah.
So there's a sort of chemistry in that side, which I think, it's looking good, I think. And then you got, what I'm mostly shocked with about Spurs is how they are managing without Kane. Because this is the big thing. I thought Kane was actually going to be like a big loss for you, but actually, it looks like you haven't lost him in the sense that you can still contribute goals. But Richarlison looks like he's stepping up. And what impressed me the most, I watched the Sheffield United game, the last few minutes of the game, um, and Sheffield United were leading in that game. I think it was 1-0 or
Yeah,
yeah,
1-0 at the time. Up to 98
1 nil,
minutes,
yeah.
98 minutes.
1-0.
I
Yeah.
thought before in recent seasons, Spurs wouldn't be the type to score. I mean, they would score, but not win the game. Actually, watched the game and I saw, wow, they actually have that mentality to actually come back, which I never seen from Spurs. Actually, this is the first time I'm seeing that. So I think Angie has done very well. I think his mentality, the culture he's given to Spurs fans, I think is very. It's very interesting to see because I don't think Spurs have had a manager which would integrate that type of rallying and like how Eddie Howe does with Newcastle, for example. He brings in behind the scenes. You see him. He's got that what do you call it? He's got that sense of you want to belong in Newcastle. And look, Tottenham, I think, are doing well. I think right now, but they're gonna face a tough side of Liverpool. Liverpool on form, and Spurs need to show. If Spurs really want to show intent in the game, they really need to put everything on the line. I don't care how you score, you have to find a way to score. I think this game
Yeah.
is not going to care about the way you score. No, it's going to care more of a. I'm sorry, it's not going to care about the way, yeah, the style of play. It's going to care about how you get it done. That's the most important thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But yeah,
Well, what's your score prediction then?
I'm going to say I'm going to say 2-1 to Liverpool.
Oh dear, everyone is going 2-1 to Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
But I have not seen any score predictions, but maybe like, I'll be something like Prithvi here. Prithvi, I'll look at it. If we do get a draw, right, it will be
Mm,
a positive results for us. If we do beat Liverpool at home this
mm,
time round, right, it will show some be surprising for me, and it will more or less be more of result of intent that shows that
mm,
was where Spurs are heading. So moving on from that, right? I'll just have to touch on this for a while because this is part of a preview show too, right? Arsenal 2, Spurs 2. Like what Prithvi was saying earlier is right. Uh, During the Arsenal game, for the first 20 minutes or so, we were more or less in the back foot. But I think this season, this is how we're going to play because it's the beginning of the Ange era, right? And I see how Ange ball is at the moment is like what today another fellow YouTuber from Tottenham Way did is that he did an analysis in how Spurs play at the moment. We do not go out and gung ho people, but Spurs, I think we are playing in a very intelligent way now, right? We let Arsenal have the ball. We try to suss Arsenal out from their way. They press, right? And
mm,
after that, we try to counter them, right? And
mm,
try to get back control of the game. So we don't go all out and do, you know, press you and try to smack you and all that. We are more of a team at the moment now. If we are more or less at the same strength or weaker than you guys, what we will do is that we'll sit back, let you do the work while we try to figure out how to outplay you. And that's why we always look a bit slower in the first 10, 20 minutes. I think that's when the time is when we are sussing out the system and the type of play that the opponents are giving us, right? So I guess Mani would also understand this, right? I'll come to Mani first since he's the Arsenal fan here. Uh, we did, me and Mani did do the North London derby, the rival show as a pre game show, right? You Mani, okay, I'll come back to where Elias is. Elias, right? Mani didn't say that Arsenal's gonna smash Spurs 5-0. Mani did say it's gonna be tight if you guys won, right? And I did say it's gonna be a 2-2, right? So that didn't happen. I mean, the 2-2 happened, the 5-0, we didn't smash. And Mani is a very, very sensible Arsenal fan. He's not one of the deluded and says that, Arsenal's going to smash Spurs. But Mani, I'm sure you watched the game too, right?
Yes,
We,
yes.
like we did after the post show with the rest of the guys for Warren from Warren Team Talk, right? And the guy was Matt, right? Was it Matt?
Yep, Matt Odom, the Southern Gooner.
Yeah, Matt Odin, Southern Guna, right? I did say this, right? We somehow or another were able to contain you, but we considered that first goal as an own goal, okay, right? And somehow or another we got back the equalizer, Okay, and during the second half, after that penalty that you got, and we scored that quick reply, we were more or less the dominant team until we took off Madison and Son. Right,
Yes,
that's
yes.
when I told you guys that we look very toothless. Well, how do you suss right this Spurs team now coming up against like teams like Arsenal and Liverpool, and teams, maybe like Brighton, the teams who are more attacking, right? Uh, will do you think that we will be able to overcome all these?
One of the biggest problems the Spurs might have, Eugene, at the moment is that you've got an excellent first team from the looks of it. I believe, if memory serves me right, this was the same Tottenham lineup which beat Manchester United at the Tottenham Stadium. Uh, maybe either you or Prithvi can correct me on that. But the bench, obviously, with the injuries that you've got, is a big concern. And, join the club. Our bench is also exceptionally toothless. And there's no way that we are going to amount to anything this season. And I will say this, and people are welcome to clip me on this, unless we improve our bench. Um, when we took off Declan Rice and Fabio Vieira to try and bring on theoretically a little bit more muscle in the form of Jorge Freo and Kai Havertz, we thought that with their experience with the Chelsea team that was winning quite a bit of stuff under Tuchel, that we'd be able to cope with all of that. But then there's a part of me that would like to cut Jorginho a little bit of slack for giving the ball away so that Madison could feed Son and, equalize barely 50 seconds after we scored that penalty. But, because he hasn't really played any minutes at all, hadn't played any minutes at all prior to coming on. But then a guy of his experience and ball knowledge should really know better than to just dawdle like that. And there was that period where, because of that, I think we completely lost. We were rocked to the core. We were shell shocked and we ended up, being a lot more passive. And that really gave you a lot more confidence to try and move forward. And credit to Yves Bissouma. He was a player, as you know, we wanted at Arsenal, but you hijacked him to it. And Conte might not have been able to get a tune out of him, but Ange has him really, singing beautifully. And he deserves credit, in my opinion. I will say, of course, that both he and Pape Sarr were a little bit, sloppy at times with their ball control. But once they grew into the match, they started to outmuscle our midfield. And when you got people like Declan Rice and Odegaard and Havertz, who are very skillful but not very muscular blokes, you're asking for trouble up against that sort of a formation. And that was an example of how the 4-2-3-1 worked perfectly with the two defensive midfielders really, being a bulwark against any attempt to try and move forward. And Rice ended up looking extremely raw, not to mention undercooked, pun intended, Rice and all that. But that was why he had to be taken off, and we needed that muscle. But when you lost Madison and Son to substitutions, I don't know. And also, special mention to Brennan Johnson, who was a live wire down the left wing and had Ben White in knots at times. Brilliant signing from Forest, by the way. Another potentially legendary Welshman to play for Tottenham. There were times when if those three had stayed on, we would have been in dire straits. But the bench, you can see the gap between the bench and the starting 11. And that is something that both Ange and Arteta are going to have to try and address in January when they get the chance. The problem is, knowing either team, I predict that Ange will take it a lot more seriously, whereas Arteta and Edu will just wing it and try and get some, obscure youth or some washed up former Chelsea guy or some other guy who's, coming to the end of his career to add some experience or whatever. I mean, the way Jorginho played, you might as well have brought on Mohamed El Neni, who actually came on against Brentford and didn't look half bad. Many of us are not really happy that El Neni's staying at the club, but I tell you what, if he gets more chances to play and actually starts to show a lot more people up, people might be saying, you know what, we can't look a gift horse in its mouth anymore. But back to your question, you will need to definitely address the issue of the bench in January. You will need to make sure that you have some players who can do more to strengthen the midfield. And if you lose Heung-min Son to an injury and are left with Richarlison, that could put you in quite a bit of trouble. And I was saying I don't know if you remember this, Eugene, but I think when you came on Del Boy Gunner's show, I was saying that we might consider going for Ivan Tony, but knowing you and the way you operate, you might decide to say, you know what, we're going to offer you more. Come over to our part of North London and play for us, and we'll definitely have a role for you. So you might just hijack us again to another potential transfer. I'm hoping that that doesn't necessarily happen because, again, quality strikers who don't cost too much are thin on the ground, you see.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And of course, a big up to John Fitzpatrick, right? Big up, and Chief Fam here, right? To be fair, based on the past three games, right, including the derby, right, Spurs look way more potent than Arsenal. Do you think that's
Oh,
true?
I agree. I agree. I agree. We haven't scored too many goals. You know, obviously Jesus coming back and scoring that, adding the ribbon to everything against Manchester United was something that gave us hope. But then that miss when he was gifted that ball by Madison pretty much summed it up. I think he wanted to have a spectacular finish to try and announce that, Jesus, the Messiah, has fully returned. But it was a case of hot bloodedness. He'll score some goals, but he's not going to be that striker who will really take us to the next level. And again, I think Nketiah has scored twice. Saka has scored twice. We haven't scored quite as many goals as you have. And obviously, in terms of goals scored, you definitely have are leading us in that front. Son has scored plenty, but quite a few others have contributed as well. So yeah, you do look a lot more potent. And um, the worst, yeah, Spurs take their chances. Arsenal has been spurning chances. Couldn't agree more, Chief Am. And the worst part is that now we are dealing with more and more injuries. We already lost Martinelli and Trossard prior to the North London derby, which meant that Jesus had to start on the left, giving Eddie Nketiah another chance to play up front. He mucked that chance up, as he did the chance against Brentford yesterday. And if we end up potentially losing Bukayo Saka as well for the game against Bournemouth, I mean, in theory, a lot of us are going to be thinking, a lot of fans are going to be thinking, oh, we'll just put Reece Nelson in. Bournemouth fans are going to have nightmares about him. But look, it's a new team, a new coach. We might end up failing to get a result at Dean Core, although there is a part of us that thinks, you know what, somehow or another we'll find a way. But as far as improving on our second place last season, forget about that. The way things are being managed at the moment, we're not playing the consistent free-flowing football that we used to play because we've changed the formation just to accommodate Edward and Nketiah. We need a new striker in January, and we need to send Eddie Nketiah away on loan for the rest of the season. If I never see that fellow playing for Arsenal again, it will be too soon. And I think it's fair to say that I have that same opinion about at least two or three other players in that team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair. And Kesha, I know you're not a Spurs or Arsenal fan, right? But I'm sure you did watch that game, did you?
Yep.
Yeah. So your thoughts on it as a neutral before I come to Prithvi, he'll be very, very biased.
Um, I think Arsenal have sort of. Then yes, I agree with Manny when he, in terms of the style of football has sort of a little bit changed in terms of they're not playing the free flow football. They're not. I don't see that. You know how they used to play last season, one touch, two touch. You know they will find a way to score. They were very potent against teams last season. So I think this season, when you look at the players like, for example, I want to come to Kai Havertz because I don't know why Arsenal have signed him. I find it a very strange signing, and I know people are going to say, yeah, he fits as a striker, but to be honest, I don't see him as a striker. I see him more as an attacking midfielder. But the problem is Odegaard plays there. So you have Nketiah there, you have Jesus, and probably Havertz is another striker. But other than that, why Havertz is going to play? I don't see the concept in this. Yes, he I don't think he's a right winger. I don't think he's a left winger. He's a center attacking midfielder and a center forward. But the problem with him being a center forward, he's very lanky. He's not a physical striker like Ivan Toney, for example, or an Antonio. He can't run the channels. He's not that type. So he's another strange signing for Arsenal. And yeah, I mean, I saw the game, and I agree with the fact that Spurs are trying to play in a very interesting way in the sense that they're finding a way play when they have the ball. They're trying to control the game in the way that they want to control, which I think is that's what I find very impressive. And they try and use or try and dictate the ball as much as they can because they let Arsenal have the ball, and then you see them being very tactical where we're going to play the ball, how which side we're going to play the ball, and all that. And it's very interesting because Spurs have not always when I always think of Spurs, I always think of them as a team that will concede late, that they don't have that drive to push. But I think this season with Anja is giving me a different like perception. I know it's the beginning of the season, but I wouldn't, to be honest, actually, I wouldn't be shocked if the Spurs finish above us. I really wouldn't see. I really would. I mean, Spurs have finished above us for how many seasons? So I'm not. I'm not. I think it will happen again. But yeah, I think Arsenal have got a good team. I think when you add Rice in that, it makes it even more the confidence in the midfield. Rice bombing forward and creating chances for other teammates and all. Then you got Odegaard, which I think has done brilliant this season. But I think Nketiah to me has actually impressed me in terms of the sense that whenever he's given the chance, he takes it, and I like that. But I think this time when I saw how Spurs play against Arsenal, it was very intelligent from Spurs. Arsenal didn't know what to do at times. They're a bit like stuck in how they were trying to find a way to post threat to Spurs. And I have to say, Spurs midfield actually actually found the ways to, put it to Richarlison and Kulusevski. And yeah, so it was a tight-knit game. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really.
Okay, but I have another question, right? For Mani and Keshaf here before we get to Prithvi, right? Do you think actually bringing Declan Rice has unsettled the Arsenal formation at the moment? That's why Arsenal's looking a bit, not as smooth as what you used to be, right? I'll come to Mani to that first.
Bear in mind, Eugene, that we don't have Thomas Partey because he's injured, and the reason why Rice was brought in was because of the expectation that he would form that wonderful understanding with Partey and that we would hopefully eventually go back to the 4-2-3-1 formation with Serve as well. With Zinchenko being injured, we ended up effectively having to play Thomas Partey at right back, which was utterly stupid. It meant that we were effectively playing the 3-4-3 formation, which you lot did when Conte was at his peak. And because it meant that Gabriel wasn't starting. It was only Saliba at the back. Our defense was stretched more than ever. And now, of course, some Partey is injured. So injuries have supposedly necessitated Arteta's need to try and experiment. And the reason why I use, these double air quotes is that, when you have some really good tools at your disposal, and you refuse to use them because you don't think they fit with what you want to do. You know how they say that a bad carpenter blames his tools? Arteta's a shocking carpenter because he has some really, really good tools that he can use. And Spurs are playing with freedom. Kulu and Son are interchanging and are overlapping one another without worrying about cover. And I'm going to come to that, obviously, because, I was talking about how well they played against us in earlier streams, but I will come to that. Thank you, Chief Am. So, Partey being injured obviously hasn't helped, and the experimentation hasn't helped. The fact that Kieran Tierney is now kicking it in Spain with Real Sociedad, and really, after a bit of a difficult start, perhaps, has started to really, really take to life in Spain like a duck to water. Against Inter Milan on their home ground, he literally kept Denzel Dumfries quiet. And he had to be taken off, of course, after about an hour, maybe as an injury precaution. And then Inter scored, so that you can't blame Tierney for that. So when you have a quality left back who will obviously do a lot more to try and plug that gap, and who is more than capable of playing either as a left back or a left centre back or even a left wing back, and you fail to use him properly because you just don't like the guy, that's a black mark on you. I'm sorry to say that. Because now we're going to come to the North London derby, where, again, at least, thankfully, after Zinchenko's recovery from injury, we had something which looked a little bit more like a flat back four. Certainly more of a flat back four than when Thomas Partey was at right back, because at least Zinchenko had, I'd like to think, at least marginally improved his sense of positional awareness and realized that, if you're starting as a left back, you've also got to try to defend a bit more. But having said that, it was again another game where Decky, as you would call him, Eugene, and Sonny combined brilliantly on the right to cause a lot of problems. Madison also was literally a thorn in our side. And both the goals, of course, as well. I think it was Kulusevski's work on the right, which unsettled Raya. And then Madison came and sort of skinned Saka on the left. And it ended, sort of left it on the plate for Son to glide it past the keeper and into the net. Effectively, Madison's way of saying, "Don't you dare mock my celebration, son. Have some respect." And Saka's had to learn that lesson the hard way. And then, of course, I don't need to mention the second goal. You all saw that. So again, when you have a guy like Zinchenko who tends to wander off and simply does not have the ability to play as a defender, it's all the more stupid. And here's the irony. If we had just kept Kieran Tierney, we could have moved Zinchenko into the role that Xhaka used to occupy for us before he moved back to Germany. And that is the role that he plays for the Ukraine, for crying out loud. So if he can play that way for the Ukraine, then surely it would make a lot more sense to try to use him where his talents are best utilized, and then just have a proper flat back four, and then go back to a situation where you play a proper striker or a false nine, anyone but Eddie, I don't care, and then just see how everything works out. But that 4-3-3 formation might have left a lot more space in the midfield for the likes of Odegaard to exploit. It also means that when we come up against some really good quality defensive midfielders, we will more often than not come unstuck. So I don't think Rice has really, weakened the team, because he was, of course, starting to grow into it. But it's really down to Arteta's tactics and how he's using the players in question, which mean that we're not getting the best out of it. And, now that Rice is injured, I still think, Kesha, that I'm really glad that we got him, because I think he will grow into a good player for us and an important player for us. But there was one idiot who wrote in his blog, he wrote in his blog saying that West Ham were an average team, and when you make the jump from an average team like West Ham to a top team like Arsenal, you have the increase in levels. You can't expect to coast and then be the best player. And under Arsenal, he'll develop into a world-class player. To heck with all of that. He was one of the England starting midfielders when they reached the final of the European Championship. And also, he was magisterial as you lot won a European trophy. You've won a European trophy more recently than we have. It's been 30 years since we last won a European trophy. So you see the arrogance of some of our fans. You see the arrogance of some of these flop gooners. But I think Declan Rice will go on to be a good player for us. It's just that under Arteta, I think he's going to waste a lot of our resources. He's going to run some of our best players into the ground, and that is why the sooner he goes, the better. And next time I come onto your stream, Eugene, I'm changing my name to Manny Thangadurai Arteta out.
All right. Before we come to Keshav, right? I just want to give a big shout out to you guys in the chats, right? I've seen some new names like Chifam and Kumas21. Right, guys, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, right? And please give a like. And Kumar also has another question here, right? Like, this panel is non-city. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe we're not City fans, right? Let's look at each other. Let's focus on the prize. We don't want them to have a walk in the park, right? And and not given that we don't have the financial backing to that. Big up to Eva, man. Big up. How you doing? She's in Hong Kong. Right, and of course the pragmatic Guna supporter. Okay, Kuma is another Arsenal fan, right? But guys, let me come back to Kesha before I get the preview on the Spurs and Arsenal game. Anything else to add on Declan Rice going over to Arsenal?
When I think I got my own opinion about the saga or Declan Rice saga. I think I'll make it clear is that I was a bit disappointed in the sense that actually, to be honest, I knew he was going to leave, but I didn't expect him to go to Arsenal. That one I didn't. But no, actually didn't. Actually expect him to go to someone like
Chelsea.
Not Chelsea. Man City or come in fame or. I know Arsenal would be. I know Arsenal would be a club interested in Rice, but let me tell you this. Besides him going to Arsenal, I always appreciate Declan. He's a fantastic player. He will give always his heart out. He's very passionate player. He's very dedicated player. Of course, at West Ham he he didn't have that, because when you work under Moyes, there's no. I mean, he has the freedom to play his game. He has the freedom to run. But Moyes, is very defensive. So he also need to be very rigid when it comes to his defensive abilities. So when he goes to Arsenal, there's an opportunity for him to express himself even more. So of course there'll be some Western fans that are going to say, we've got no quarrels about him going to Arsenal, and there'll be some Western fans that will have that, saying that, why we letting go to Arsenal? What is this? Why we letting one of our best players go to Arsenal? But you know what? It's his thing. Let him do what he wants. And I realize, what? It's good that West Ham didn't draw out of this. It's very good, because to be honest, I thought if we didn't get any replacement, I thought we actually crumble. Actually, I really thought we would crumble, because if you look at our midfield, let's say we didn't get Ward-Prowse or Alvarez. Okay, we had Suchek, we would have had I forgot the other place, and some youngsters in there, and also because we keep playing Declan Rice and Suchek every game last season. So I think this time, and then you have Fornals also as well. You can play in that. And no, we've been very smart in how we've got our players with Ward-Prowse and Alvarez, which I think has really, because you can't replace Declan Rice with one player, or the alike player. You cannot. There's no way. You need to have two players that will complement Declan Rice's ability, because Declan Rice is very good defensively and also very good moving forward. So you need to have two players that can complement that aspect, which we've done very well. But like I said, to be honest, before, when he actually moved to Arsenal, I was a bit upset. I was very disappointed. But then after that, when we got Ward-Prowse in and Alvarez in, actually, to be honest, I couldn't even care less about us. Rice going to Arsenal, really, I've already completely moved on from it.
All
I'm
right.
more focused on my club and all. But I wish him all the best. But we are playing, I think, Arsenal in October, I think, and late October again, EFL Cup. So it'll be interesting. I think he'll probably be
Okay.
back for that game. So
All right.
yeah.
Okay. And let me get to Prithvi, right? Prithvi, the Arsenal Spurs derby.
Yeah, uh, I don't really have much to say, because most of it was covered by Buddy. Uh, the main, I think the main factors in the match that led us to get that draw in the first place. Uh, in the first half, like Eugene said, we were really what do you say? I wouldn't say laid back, but we were just trying to feel our opponents, to a certain extent, try and make a sense of what exactly we could, take advantage of, or the required areas that we could take advantage of, and go front. Um, a lot of very good interchanges between Sonny and Decky. A lot of crazy runs by Brennan Johnson at the left. It sort of put the Arsenal defense, into the back foot quite a few times, actually. Um, and for the most part, the so-called renewal of Yves Bissouma, that has been a huge factor in our coming up again. At this point, last season, Bissouma didn't even get to play even probably around 2 or 3 games. He would have gotten in the whole season. And the same thing now, you're actually seeing him actually trying to take that, take the fight to the team, bring the team up from behind. He's been playing as a number 6, but if the stats and the numbers are right, I'm pretty sure he's turning out to be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League right now, with the amount of forward passes that he's been putting in. It's also, in a way, helped Madison do what he does best. I think he's gotten that freedom to do what he wants to do in the front. To try and get the ball into the right spaces. Um, Tony, on the other hand, also had a good game thanks to the two assists by Madison. Um, and the rest of the players also. It's not that none of the players are playing badly or anything. Of course, Romero had a bad game with the two mistakes, but we can't really blame that because mistakes are something that we've always needed to fix from the beginning. It's been there for a long time now. Defensive errors are something that we need to look at, and it's not the defenders per se. So I wouldn't really blame the defenders completely, but overall, they can do better. And I think with the likes of Van der Ven and Romero in the back, it actually works out perfectly. It's just that sometimes you know. Uh, Things may not work out the same way that it usually does. So you can expect some errors from our side also at this point. From the Arsenal side of view, like Mani mentioned, uh, the whole missing of Partey is a huge factor for how exactly the midfield changed overall. I think if Partey was there, it would have been much more difficult for us. And even if Rice was similar to Partey, take that for example. In West Ham, when Rice was playing alongside Suchek, there was a lot of freedom for both of them. Both the players had like one person was taking care of the defensive duties and the other was in the front. There was a lot of switching over between those two, and I didn't see that happening in the Arsenal game this time. I couldn't see much transitional behavior between the two defensive midfielders in Arsenal. I think they were more. He was much more streamlined back in West Ham when he had Soucek as a partner. And I think what many mentioned, the missing of Partey. I mean, I think if Partey played, that would have worked out perfectly for them. Um, think, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to okay. Sorry. Yeah. So, with the strikers' point of view, I think Nketiah actually did well. Not a bad job, but Esaka did exceptionally well as usual. Um, I wanted to ask one thing from my side. I don't know why I want to ask this, but it's been gnawing at me for quite a while. You guys had, considered this Emil Smith Rowe as a fan favorite at one point. What exactly is happening to him? Why isn't he getting any games?
the simple answer, Prithvi, brother, injuries. And whenever he's tried to, come back into the team, there'd always be another injury setback. If you recall last season, I believe he got injured at Manchester United during the post-game warm down. Now, there's a part of me that absolutely loves the guy, and I tell you what, if he had when he was brought on with minutes left, it reminded me of Gareth Southgate bringing on Jack Grealish against France with barely minutes or even seconds to go, and I was thinking to myself, "You absolute waster! How dare you!" And you could also see when he started against Brentford. I know that people are willing to criticize him, saying that he should have scored from that chance he got, but he lent a great deal more in that position than Havertz could ever possibly do. And that's another example of the misconception surrounding Arteta and his treatment of the Hale End boys. He will either, run Saka into the ground, or he'll let someone else like Smith Rowe or someone else waste on the bench, way on the bench. And so I would like to see this particular season being a watershed for Smith Rowe. If he doesn't get anywhere near enough minutes between now and January, for example, I would not be surprised if another club were to, want to snap him up. And Arsenal might look at it as a way of, getting some money for him and sort of cutting their losses in a way, which is absolutely tragic because this guy should be going on to become um, a fan favorite for us. And a little bit disappointed. Why? Could we go back to what Chief Am said, please, Eugene? Um, Talking about how disappointed why Reece Nelson couldn't start for 75 minutes, so Jesus can replace Nketiah in the middle. Either that, or just take off Nketiah, bring on Reece Nelson, and then move Jesus into the middle, and you've solved your problem. But uh, I'm going to come to that question, Kumar. That is sort of irrelevant because I always say that if ifs and buts were sweets and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But I'm going to come back to the issue of Smith Rowe. Injuries have not been his best friend. They've really hampered him in a way. And we always seem to have an unwanted record at Arsenal where players come in with spotless fitness records, but then they end up on the treatment table for a longer period of time, more often than not. And I want to see
I'd
Smith
like
Rowe
to
get
add
more minutes.
something to that.
Go ahead.
I think the whole of North London actually is facing the same issue. They get players who are actually, people who are not supposed to get injured at all, but they get injured at the wrong times, especially when we've got matches like, games played against City or Liverpool. We'll end up having our benches, empty because of all the injuries. That is something I've observed a lot.
Yeah, one thing I will say though is that, and I'm sorry to have to, fire a cheap shot at you. At least we know better than to eat dodgy lasagna or dodgy pasta before a game. But
Yes,
you know,
yes. We know.
yeah, yeah. Listen, so back to Smith Rowe. I want to see him get more minutes, and he needs to be trusted a lot more. If Arteta is willing to put a lot more trust in Edward and Nketiah, despite the fact that his output is inversely proportional to the hype that he's given, he'll score a couple of goals and do this Ghostbuster celebration, as in, who are you going to call? And then he doesn't really contribute very much afterwards. So such is the nature of not just Nketiah, but several of our other players, that they will perform brilliantly, but they will never be able to be consistent enough, with the exception of Saka and a few others, to repeat this as often as we would like. At least with Smith Rowe, you're going to you'll have someone who will produce a great deal of effort, a great deal of endeavor, and if he can just keep himself fit and get more minutes and really take advantage of the chances he gets, that would be wonderful for him. But this season will be a watershed for him. And I'm going to come back to Kumar's question. First of all, it's Manny, not Amani. So I'm sorry for that little nitpick there. But if he had won the league last season, I wouldn't be saying Arteta out. But the fact that, we were 8 points ahead at one stage in pole position, only to end up, I mean, we might as well have had some dodgy lasagna before each and every single game that season because we bottled it so badly. And now this season, it is a watershed because he's now had. Um, I think this is probably going to be his fourth full season. He's had money to spend, but he hasn't spent it wisely. And if he doesn't achieve anything this season, he has to go. I'm sorry, but there are no excuses. And so, with regard to Bournemouth versus Arsenal, I did mention that we could be without Martinelli, Trossard, and potentially Saka and Rice for this. It will be very interesting to see how well the fringe players step up and prove themselves. I did say that some people might think the Bournemouth fans would have nightmares about Reece Nelson, but this is a new Bournemouth team, a new Bournemouth manager, a new day. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Okay, before we go to the Bournemouth Arsenal game, Keshav, West Ham Sheffield United 8-0.
Not gonna happen. Sorry, it's not
I
gonna
mean,
happen. West Ham never win 8-0, 7-0. Honestly, it doesn't even happen. The maximum score, if you ask me, if on our day, probably 4-0 final. Nowhere 10-0, 9-0, in there's no way. But it's going to be tough. I expect for United to respond. But I think it should be not say I don't want to use the words comfortable or all, but it's you need um, I think we will. I think it's going to probably be 2-0.
okay.
I can see it being a tough game because they are a tough side. Even though they lost 8-0 to Newcastle, they look what they did to Spurs. So there's nothing guaranteed in football how you win or lose. So I expect
But
us to win with this.
Yeah, but Keshav, what they came and did at Spurs is they low blocked us and caught us on one of those rare
Mm.
counter attacks. Or our defense fell asleep when they did the throw in, right? But do you think that actually Sheffield United will actually go to West Ham and low block you guys again?
No, I can see it happening. I actually can see it happening because this is the problem with us. We are very poor at when teams come at us defensively. Because it's normal for us to do it defensively, sit back, but we find it very difficult to break teams when they're low block and then they go on the counter attack. So actually, it's the reverse. Actually, instead of us doing it, they do it. So it's about how we counter that because we have good players to do that, like Paqueta, for example, and Bowen, and able to break through. So look at it and think, we even despite the two losses against City, Liverpool expect us to come out and go back again with the momentum. We got some tough games, but and coming back to Elias, I think Elias put a question out about are you
Yeah, you still
Moise out?
moist out. You feel moist out. The last of whole season, you were
No,
moist out. Remember?
I'm not saying anything yet because what I will say is I'm very pleased that he's got a trophy, but that people cannot people cannot say that what he's done for West Ham is not good. Okay, let's put all results aside. What he's actually done for the club is amazing. No other manager would have done that. If you ask Pellegrini, Bilic, all wouldn't have done. Allardyce they wouldn't have done. But to see at least Moyes, come out and the emotions of West Ham winning that conference league, I think shows that any team has that mindset capability to go and win. It's just about that mentality to push on, Any team, like, you see Aston Villa, for example, yeah, they had a tough game last week. I think they played in the conference league. No game is easy, but I had that belief that, you know what, we have the squad, we have the team, we should be able to at least try and reach the final, but nowhere near my expectation to see West Ham. But, I'm very grateful, and, maybe in the next 20 years I will not see it, but that doesn't matter. At least I've seen it. But coming to Moyes, especially, he's got 1 year left on his contract, which is by the end of next season. There's a lot of questions on whether we are going to extend. But when I see, for example, we got a new backroom staff. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, because some of our backroom staff left. So that already gives me an indication that um, he might stay. And also another indication that he might stay is, he's got a very good team right now. And let's be honest, he's not gonna go anywhere else that he wouldn't feel strongly confident in that he will come in and do a good job. I mean, who's targeting this manager? I don't know see anybody targeting him. So it's high. There's going to be a high likely chance to extend his contract. To be honest, I don't like managers who are at the end of their 1 year deal. We need to have a clear sense of direction whether to keep them or not. If you ask me personally, I like to see how the season goes, but the conference league has sort of given me a bit of hope we can push on in terms of, like, example, I'm looking at the Carabao Cup or looking at the FA Cup as we can't look at those trophies. But Europa League will be tough in the sense that it's going to be difficult when you have Liverpool in there and Brighton in there, and got some tough teams there. So I'm not expecting us to do what we did last season, but we just need to push on. Just keep getting seventh, eighth. That should be the minimum. Because I don't want us to go back down to what we did last season, 14th. I don't want that. I really don't like. When I think the season was still going, I thought, it's a new dawn, a new era to see West Ham there. And then I thought, let's see whether we can push on this next few seasons. And we have done. To get the taste of of at least being in the Europa League, or whether it is in the conference, at least to get the taste of being, getting and watching your team play. That's already, good. But like I said, we have the players. This season, I do not expect us to have the start we had, which is quite pleasing. But this needs to continue. I think if we lose, let's say hypothetically, I don't want to say, but if we do lose against Sheffield United, then I'll get a bit, we Sheffield United lost 8-0 last week, and to lose against them, then it's a bit not worrying, but a bit disappointing. But look, we've got players in there which I think can cause problems, like Kudos, Bowen, and coming to Bowen. I don't know whether you hear the news about Liverpool targeting him, and and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not Arsenal. Who else is targeting him? A few other teams. But the thing I don't like about is, yes, he has 2 years remaining, but we had talks with him, and I think a lot of reports saying that we are closing to giving him a new deal, making him the high speed earner. Well, we should keep him at all costs, to be honest, because I think he's very pivotal to how we play. I think nobody else should touch him. I know Liverpool would. I know Liverpool would probably see him as a Salah replacement, but I don't see him near as what Salah is. To be honest, I think Bowen suits how he plays. He loves West Ham. He likes the culture. He's already got a family in London, so I don't see. I know if when Liverpool come in, of course they'll be enticing, but West Ham already winning already something can already convince him, at least stay with us for at least, sign a maybe 2 year, 3 year deal. Then maybe you can go when you're 30 or what. So I think
30.
but what I'm saying is I want teams to look at West Ham and say, this is the club I want to be in. This is the club. I don't want to go to any other club. I remember, I think Paulo Di Canio, he did a recent podcast, I think, with Simon Jordan. If you don't know who Simon Jordan is on Talksport, he
Oh, yeah,
talks
I
about.
know. We all know who Simon Jordan is. Don't worry.
Um, so I think recently they just uploaded this. He talked about uh, him having the chance to go to Man United to work under Alex Ferguson Di Canio, and he didn't want to join because of his love affair for West Ham. So I like that because that shows that you are dedicated to the club. Not many teams are. Sorry, not many players are dedicated.
But Keshav, that's the old school players you're talking about, right? Now these players, when you show them the money, then they will go wherever the
Of
money
course,
is
yeah, of
shown.
course.
It's,
But
that story is gone a long time ago, right?
of
Unless
course,
there are a few players who are still like that left,
yeah,
right? Like Sonny and all that.
yeah.
They'll stay for the club because they love the club, the loyalty to the club, and all that, right? But Keshav, thanks for being on.
I'll be
Do you
going.
have to make a move, or you
Yeah,
still have
I'll
time?
be going now. Yeah.
All right, Keshav, take care. We'll see you. Catch up with
Okay,
you
yeah.
next week, right? We'll see what after
Yeah.
the
Cheers,
Sheffield
Keshav.
United. Take
Take care.
care.
Yeah.
All
Come back and
right.
give my talk. Yeah. Take care.
I'll get your
Nice
thoughts on the
having
Sheffield
you.
United next week. All right. See you again. Bye, Keshav.
Okay then.
Right, Money. I think what Kumar S is trying to say, right? I think it's after this, what is it? Your Bournemouth Arsenal game, right? Let me get back to this again. Because if I'm not mistaken, right, after the Bournemouth Arsenal game, right, you guys are playing M City, correct?
Yep.
I guess what he's trying to say, right? We're all non-City fans here, right? And we have to focus on the main prize, right? And not to let City, right, have a walk in the park to the Premier League title. So the first test that's coming up for Manchester City is actually you guys, correct? So what I mean, apart from the Bournemouth game, okay, we all will more or less say that okay, no matter how much Bournemouth has improved, they have brought in some new players, whether they will gel or not, right? We do see Arsenal actually beating Bournemouth in this game. That's how I see it, right? Do you see that too, Prithvi? Arsenal beating Bournemouth?
Arsenal can beat Bournemouth, yeah, for sure. That's not
Right,
a debatable
right.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Mani, you're quite confident that your team will beat Bournemouth, even though it's away, right? Whether it's going to be easy, whether it's going to be hard, but I'm sure you guys will slog the results out there, right? Because if
Yeah,
not, then
we will because I mean I'm not confident. I'm not saying we will, but we have to sort of go into this game believing that we can win. Otherwise, there's no point in having much hope, is there? But
right,
the worry is, of course, as I said, that we could be severely depleted with 4 of our potential first teamers out of the side due to injury, and
mhm,
the other players are going to have to stand up and be counted. I think the reason why I should be confident right now is that for all of the talk about how the team has slightly improved, Bournemouth still haven't been able to win a game, and they've got injury problems of their own, but they just haven't been able to sort of find the the mojo that they need to take the team forward and really get those wins coming in. And I just wonder whether the teething problems are starting to um, affect the team's morale and confidence or what have you. I mean, you beat them at Dean Court, so you have a better idea of what you can expect from them than we will. And I think it's quite fair to say that defensively they will still have a lot of issues with some of the new defenders coming in, having to get to grips with everything. And they've done well in the League Cup recently. I mean, they beat Swansea um, in the previous round, and they beat Stoke last night. And we could possibly I'm sure I'll be on a stream with Craig Beasley later on, so I know that we're going to
Yeah,
have a lot to talk about then. And I will tell him that you send your best wishes to him.
yeah,
He
yeah,
remembers you quite fondly, of course.
yeah.
And
Great. He's a good
you
guy.
know, we'll obviously know what to expect from them. I think they're going to be dependent on Solanke and Philip, um, formerly known as Billing, of course, to try and provide a lot of the energy going forward. David Brooks coming back into the team will be a huge confidence boost, and he's also, you know, announced himself back. But defensively, with Zabani and Kirkus having, you know, come in and established themselves, they're still not quite able to really get into it. Aaron's has started for them and looked okay, I would say. I mean, well, you take a look at their midfield and their forward lineup. They also enjoy the 4-2-3-1, and they look good going forward. But defensively, and I suppose in their defensive midfield, they may have a few issues to solve, and it may take some time for them to really solve them. And once they do, they could become a decent team. I would, if we lose to Bournemouth, then that is it. I mean, I really will have no trust in Arteta to take the team even forward, and questions will, you know, begin to be asked about whether he is the right man to, continue with. I can't trust the process if we don't get the result. Even a draw won't be good enough because it's only marginally better than a loss in terms of points, you see. So um, we have to believe that we can win. We have to believe that the likes of Nelson and company will, you know, step up and perform. But you know, it's not going to be a comfortable game. I can promise you that. And when I watch it, I'm sure that I will have a lot to say afterwards. And of course, you know, the call-in shows after that are going to be absolutely wild if we fail to win. At least if we do win, we'll be a bit at peace.
That's
You never
cool.
know, though.
Yeah, but Money. More interesting is that the following game after this week, right? Because what Kumar's S21 is saying is that I guess the test for Manchester City is coming up, right? For you guys, right? If you guys are really going to show your endeavor to actually go after M City in this season, right, you will have to actually beat them or actually stop them in their run because they have not lost a Premier League game at the moment, right? They are. I'm not sure who M City is playing this weekend, but do you think you have any chances of actually giving M City a run for their money?
If we don't get our injured players back by the time that game is played, no. And it's
Okay.
interesting because one of those injured players is, of course, a certain Declan Rice, for whom we were locked in a battle with City to get. And there's always going to be a part of me that thinks that City actually pulled a fast one on us by allowing us to fall over ourselves to top up our fee to get Rice by saying, "You want him that badly? Go ahead and get him. We'll still have a better midfield than you, and we're going to cook you lot when we come to the Emirates." And you know, we still have the situation, Eugene, where we are over dependent on our first team to really deliver the goods. And when we come up against that City team, which might have lost Ilkay Gundogan, Riyad Mahrez, and others, they're still quite stacked. Of course, we must bear in mind that they lost to Newcastle in the cup last night,
Mhm.
but I think somebody said it perfectly that Pep Guardiola is one manager who has the right to say, "We've got bigger fish to fry." We haven't got that right. And, you know, they are the defending treble winners for a reason. I know they've let some players go, but they've got some decent players in who can certainly add a little bit of strength to the team. I wouldn't necessarily say that they would, you know, enhance that team better because I can't see Kovacic being a perfect replacement for Ilkay Gundogan in that regard. But they're still going to be quite stacked. I don't see Phillips playing much of a role, and he is one player who could definitely be on the move in January. Maybe either back to Leeds or maybe back to a club where, you know, they can get the best out of him, because Guardiola did say that he wasn't quite able to integrate Phillips into the system successfully, and it's a bit sad what's happened to him. But you know, we just we've got no chance against City unless our players come back from injury and are fully fit. And even then, I think Guardiola is the type of manager who will always have a plan against us. Bear in mind, he got rid of Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus for a reason. And immediately after he got rid of them, he went on to win the Champions League.
Mm.
Sort of tells you everything, doesn't it?
Yep, yep, yep. Okay, most probably we'll deal with this last question from Kumar21. Guys, I want to see your perspective on an unbiased subject, Manchester United. All right, Prithvi, I'll get to you first, right? Manchester United, do you care about them or it's just like, meh, I don't care. They can go and fly kites for it.
I, I, to be honest, I've got far too many friends who support United as a team. Uh, I mean, I still consider them rivals whenever we do play. So yeah, that is one way of looking at it. But overall, I think United as a team at this point, they are going through this transitional phase that most teams go through, especially after having the need to reset their defense, reset their midfield, reset their strike. The players that they probably needed, a long time ago, uh, they got to know. Like take for example, the one player I really expected to join us last season. His name Amrabat.
Oh, so
Uh,
yeah,
the Moroccan guy.
Moroccan guy, yeah.
Yeah,
Amrabat.
Amrabat, Amrabat.
he ended up joining United, and that actually set the tone for me. You know, they're actually trying to set things right in their midfield because they've been having issues with the likes of Fred, with the likes of McTominay, and lately Casemiro, who was supposed to be their best defensive mid, he's also been coming down. Ericsson hasn't been performing great lately. So overall, you can see the team is also going through a bit of a transitional phase. Either it's because of the fatigue, or I don't really know how to put it in words like what they're actually going through. We've all gone through it at least once in our teams. I personally know us as a team, Tottenham as a team, we've gone through that sort of phase for far too long, and
Yeah,
now is a sort of how do you say, we have been resurrected from that particular phase now at this point, and I can't say that also for sure because it's way too early in the season. So
that's fair.
United as a team, I'm pretty sure when they get Amrabat and I think they've started playing this new guy, Hannibal Mejbri. He has been playing really well. Like I think he can change the tone in the midfield along with Amrabat, and Bruno will get the freedom that he probably requires to take the ball forward, get the ball to the right areas in the D. People like Martial haven't been like performing great lately, so I think they're highly dependent on Rashford and even Garnacho up to a certain extent. Uh, so that there are a lot of things that they still need to fix. A lot of missing links. Their defense has been horrible lately. That is something I can tell. We've had that issue for quite a long time, and I feel for them in that context. But yeah, this transitional phase is not going to be there for long for a team like United. That much I can tell, because they're known to bounce back. Like towards the second half of the season, they're known to bounce back, and they're like suddenly in the top four. For the most part, I've seen that happen quite too much, and I'm tired of looking at that honestly, because I want us to be in the top four. But yeah, that beside the view, I think United, once they do get over these small hitches that they have in their team, they're pretty bound to be coming back up soon.
Okay, fair, fair. And of course, big up to Mr. K. Big up, big up. How you doing? Hope you're well, Mr. K. Mani, your thoughts on United?
Um, Look, I remember the days, of course, when they were our biggest rivals under Fergie, and we would always have a tough time, playing against them. Obviously, those days are long gone. And of course, in the subsequent managers they've hired since then, be it Van Gaal or Mourinho, I don't consider David Moyes an appointment because he didn't even last a full season. They found a way to at least win some trophies, but you could just tell that the cohesion and that big fire they had to win has sort of been taken away. And with Ten Hag, he's now once again on a hiding to nothing. But while in the previous season I was willing to give him a lot of credit for being an excellent tactician, this time around some of his tactics have made no sense. But United also have to learn to be a little bit ruthless, and I think it's fair to say that Casemiro and Eriksen are pretty much on their last legs at United. Their best days are behind them. I know they're still top quality midfielders, but ruthless teams are always going to find a way to evolve beyond them. And signing Amrabat is a masterstroke because he can slot himself in to that defensive midfield and really make a big difference. Defensively, they're just all over the shop, and they've got a lot of work to do in January as well. And of course, they have won their last two games against inferior opposition. It must be said, but they're still wins nonetheless. And hopefully they can start to remember what works and what's worked well for them and try and take it from there. And it was never going to be easy to replace David De Gea. I know De Gea has his faults, but he was a brilliant shot stopper. Onana's had a dreadful start to life so far, and there's a part of me that thinks that maybe the Turkish bloke by India could be given a chance sooner or later.
Oh, we were looking at him
And
too.
so yeah, and certainly some of the player issues, especially with what's been going on with Sancho, they haven't helped either. So Ten Hag is on a bit of a hiding to nothing, but he's now going to have to start cracking the whip and deciding what needs to be the best decision. And once that decision is made, there can be no going back. He did the same thing with Ronaldo last season, and now it's as if a decision has to be made to cut down the player power. But again, the team also will need to be refreshed, and more deadwood will have to be cut adrift, and maybe we can see them coming back to it. I think Ten Hag is the right manager to take them forward. He's not going to get it tactically spot on every single game, but he is a fine tactician, and he will have to start, making it crystal clear that the club must come first, and the club has to look beyond certain players who just can't serve the purpose anymore. And once that ruthlessness comes back, then maybe we can see some hope for United to return to those glory days. Ferguson always had the knack of knowing when to let a player go, and Ten Hag will have to learn that and try and develop that ruthless touch. But until then, United are going to struggle. All United fans can do is just watch, wait, and hope.
Fair. For me, I'm going to tell you this, right? At this moment in time, what I see in United is something not that nice. Is because that, number one, what the Glazers have done, right? They have actually led the fan base on a wild goose chase. They say they want to sell. They bring them all through this process of getting in bids and all that, right? And while the fans are thinking they're going to sell to a better owner and give them a better future, that hasn't happened, because I think the intention of the Glazers is they don't want to sell unless they get a crazy amount of money, like 10 billion pounds or something like that, which is, I being a Spurs fan, we've been through it. We are going through it, right? But at least now with Ange is here, we're getting some positive results, okay? Because number one, what Manchester United has gone through is that they have an illustrious history during Sir Alex Ferguson time, right? After when they lost Mourinho, the ship sank real quick. You get what I'm saying? When the ship started to sink, every move that was made by the top management was a panic move, a reactionary move, right? With no future planning. But now the problem is that they've brought in Ten Hag, and hopefully they could start building. But when they brought in Ten Hag, the owners were saying they're going to sell, right? While the fan base has this hope that they sell and new owners come in, they will pump in the money, blah blah blah, to give Ten Hag a brighter future or something like that, right? The fan base at the moment, right, is putting out a lot of negative energy towards the whole club. That's when you get all this bad karma coming in and all that, and whatever decision the owners make, right, doesn't seem to be right. You get what I'm saying? Of all the people you bring in, you went for manager like Ten Hag, you've gone with Ole, you've gone with Mourinho, you've gone through that range of managers like what we went through, right? Where after Poch we brought in Jose, the same thing again. and after that we got Nuno. After that we got Conte. So for whatever Manchester United has to do at the moment, right? I think the ownership has to be really, really honest and clear and transparent with the fans and let them know what is going on. If they start by doing that first, they win back the fans, right? To follow the project that's been set up, get the proper people in to run the club. You get what I'm saying? Apart from the manager can most to most only manage the players, but the manager cannot manage the whole club, right? Unless you're Sir Alex Ferguson, that's what he did the last time because he actually managed the whole club. Whatever he said goes, you see. That's why when Mani, you're saying that being that ruthlessness, right? Where the manager has the right to say that after using this player, £100 million player, right? After using him for 3 years, right? And I want to cash out on him now. I'm going to cash out on him now. You're going to say no to me, right? Even if I got to take a loss of 25 million or 50 million pound, I'm going to sell him. I'm going to sell him. I need to upgrade. But managers do not seem to have that kind of authority nowadays, right? Because of the financial constraints and all that. That's why for Spurs, after getting rid of Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, now we've got Ange coming in. We hope that what Ange can do is that actually give us a philosophy to actually follow through from the youth all the way to the first team, that we will build a linear way for players to develop and come in. While we are building our own youth and players that we build, which Manchester United, why they were successful during the Sir Alex Ferguson days is that 50 to 60% of the crop of the players that were at the club were actually youth players. If you look at the Manchester United team now, right? How many youth players are there in the Manchester United team? They only started to bring a few in now, right? What you see now is like Hannibal, right? Hannibal is a young player. Garnacho, right? Garnacho is a young player. But then you're talking only two players. But the rest of them are all, Casemiro, Onana, right? Whatever players you've got in front there now, like, But maybe Hoyland, you can say he's a young player too. He will develop into a Manchester United player. But to tell the truth, for what Manchester United has to do right, they will have to reset. That's what I say. And the owners will have to be real, truthful, and transparent with the fan base. Because Manchester United fans protest much more bigger than Spurs fans, right? But at least now our chairman, right, has acknowledged that has to listen to the Spurs fans to actually go in the right direction, right? But guys, to tell the truth, I don't care about Manchester United. They can sing for all I care, right? But it is what it is, right? If they can't make it, too bad for them. Somebody else will take their place. Hopefully, it'll be us. So it's their problem, right? Guys, thanks for being
Yeah,
on.
things go in circles, Eugene. I mean, like clubs
Yeah,
will
you're right.
dominate and then they'll fall behind and then they somehow have a struggle to come back in. It's happened to almost every club in
Yeah.
history, and United are going to be no different. I don't see them getting relegated like they were,
Mm-hmm.
50 or so years ago, but they're
And they
going to
won't get
struggle,
relegated.
and
Yeah, everybody
we'll
will have
see
to
what
struggle.
happens.
It's a cycle, right? And like I said, like what Kumaras is saying, right? Who's going to break the MCT dominance? Sooner or later, they'll break it themselves. That's how I see it. Because sooner or later, Pep will get tired, right, of winning trebles and trebles and trebles, right? He'll say he want a new challenge, and then they will lose Pep. And when they try to look for a new manager, and that's when they have to go to their rebuild and transition again, right? But guys, football is football, right? It's a cycle, like life, it goes on, right? So all I could say is to Manchester United fans is that hang in there, right? We're all fans of the club, right? The club will still be standing. It doesn't matter who the owners are, the managers are, the players are, right? The most important is the badge, right? To all the clubs out there. Okay. And of course, let me say a big shout out to the guys in the chats. Big up Mr. K, Kumar S, Bobby K, right? Chi Fam, right? Who else do we have? Eva Man from Hong Kong, right? A lot of comments today. John Fitzpatrick, big up to you too, right? Thanks for all being on. Mark Swift, Swifty, Chun Yao. Thanks, guys, for your support, right? And not to forget, please like, subscribe, right? And any last words from you, Manny?
Uh, all I can say is if Arsenal fail to win at Bournemouth, that's our title challenge over. And we fail to win against City, this should be Arteta's last season at the club. No ifs,
Yep.
no buts, no walnuts.
Yep. All right. And Prithvi, last words?
Just hoping for a great season this time under Ange, and I think it's gonna happen. So, about you, Spurs.
All right. Okay, guys, thanks for being on, and then as always, Levy out. And let me get the outro.